and welcome everybody. It's Jason and Zach again from RTB. And today I want to start off with some interesting statistics. Did you know that if you were to Google cybercrime and GDP, the World Economic Forum ranks it as the world's third largest economy, behind only China and the United States? And besides that, imagine there's 44% denial rate in cyber insurance claims. On top of that, 1 in 5 ransomware events end up in litigation. Combine all those together. Now consider in the first quarter of 2025, so the first 90 days of 2025, there was a 50% increase in class action lawsuits over the entire 2024 combined. And one of the common denominators of all this is an incident response plan, more specifically, lack thereof. Zach, what is your take on all this?
Yeah. So what is an incident response plan for those of you that don't know? A cyber, and we're specifically talking about cyber here. So all those statistics Jason mentioned have to deal with cyber and cyber crime. A cyber incident response plan is exactly what it sounds like. It's how you respond to a cyber incident in your organization. And most organizations are like, whatever, we'll deal with it as we go. That's not going to work. That's not going to fly anymore. If you don't have a cyber incident response plan, you're going to be held liable, just like you were saying, Jason. And just like those class action lawsuits, if you don't have one, if you don't test it, if you're not prepared for every eventuality, or at least a multitude of eventualities, then you're going to get hammered and you're probably going to go out of business.
That's pretty harsh, but unfortunately, it's true, right? I mean, imagine being a business owner, right? And you're thinking, okay, we've got all this security in place, we've invested in cybersecurity, we should be good. Then all of a sudden, an event happens, you get hit with ransomware, and then you file an insurance claim. Well, guess what? That insurance company is going to want to see your incident response plan. They're going to want to see evidence that it's been tested, through at least things like a tabletop exercise. If you can't prove that, it's going to be denied. So imagine you suffer an incident, these cyber criminals extort you, you file an insurance claim, insurance won't back you up, and then all of a sudden you get hit with a class action lawsuit because you weren't able to provide the confidentiality for your clients.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're seeing happening in the real world right now. To that end, what does this really mean for people, for a consumer? And to get to the point, you need to have documentation. That's what an incident response plan is. If you are not documenting how you're going to respond, who is going to specifically respond, because part of that is understanding what roles everyone has to play, and then having playbooks that specifically mention the response for individual incidents. So like you mentioned, Jason, ransomware. If you don't have a ransomware specific playbook in your incident response plan, well, it's kind of worthless, right? Because how are you going to respond? If you don't know how you're going to and you don't practice that, then it's just like you're going to, old adage, practice like you play, right? You're not going to play well.
So you're saying that a generic catch-all IR plan is not going to do the trick, is what I'm hearing from you.
I mean, 5 to 10 years ago, yeah, when cybercrime wasn't as prevalent and it wasn't, hitting every company out there, sure, that'd be no big deal, and that'd be probably fine because most companies also didn't have cyber insurance. But if you're paying for cyber insurance and you cannot produce a document, or in this case, multiple documents that are stating you're actually doing what you say you're doing, particularly on those the forms every year you have to sign that say I'm doing XYZ for cybersecurity. If you can't produce documentation, then it's all for naught and it's really worthless.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And to your point earlier, also, like, this is not about technology. This is about keeping your doors open, especially after the worst day of your life, dealing with this cyber incident response plan. It's like having, it's like not training your employees on how to respond to a fire. They should know how to evacuate a building during a fire, but do they know what to do during a cyber incident or ransomware event?
Yeah, and again, going back to, you have to practice how you play. I know I'm using a sports analogy here, but that's, I like sports. It is what it is. But if you don't practice the act of going through your incident response plan and your employees and responsible individuals don't understand it, then you could get into you can have the aftermath of an incident and be like, oh, what do I do now? Oh, read this paper. Cool, I can read it, but what does that actually mean? They won't know how to take the actions. They won't be able to respond fast enough or in a timely fashion. So you really, really need to practice it. But that involves you having the plan in the first place and making sure that people understand the plan and you have it properly documented.
Right, right. And I know you just got certified as a certified incident responder, which is very cool. Lots of very interesting training there as well. And I know, one of the things that they harped on during that is essentially what you were saying. Don't let it be the first time that you've practiced the plan be during a real world incident, right? You need to, practice how that event would go. So you're identifying the gaps and figuring out where you can make things better. So um, yeah, to that point, I mean, I'll just leave it with, this is about keeping your doors open and keeping your name out of the headlines. Right. This is how we're approaching incident response. So those statistics that we mentioned earlier are very important. And contact us if you need any help. We'd be happy to guide you through any kind of incident response planning, tabletop exercises, anything like that. It's so sad to see these businesses really going under and suffering that three-pronged approach of being hit by ransomware and then not getting backed up by insurance and then getting sued after that. It's really terrible to see, and we want to do anything that we can to help people out in this instance.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jason. And to kind of tack on, um, documentation, documentation, documentation. If you aren't documenting it, even if it's in somebody's head, even if you have a CISO or C-suite on staff that this is their job, if it's not documented, doesn't mean anything. Insurance isn't going to care. They're not going to believe you're doing any of it. So documentation's key, and we can certainly help you out with that. And yeah, it goes hand in hand with risk management. So those two things are king, and we'd love to help everybody out to make sure that they don't close their doors.
That's right. All right. Thanks, Zach. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.